State may call his first witness.
Ann Jones Pierre.
For the record, if I've not done so already, I would like to invite the invoke the rule of exclusion.
If there are any witnesses in the courtroom at this time, you're requested and required to go outside. Do not discuss the case with anyone or allow anyone to discuss the case with you until you're called to testify. So any witness who may be in the courtroom for either the state or the defendant need to go outside, and I appreciate that. So I'd ask the lawyers to keep up with possible witnesses so that no one is in the courtroom.
She's at the doorway. You can ask her to come on.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
You may be seated, ma'am.
Have a seat and speak loud and everything.
Good morning, Miss Pierre.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Can you state your full name for the record?
Ann Jones Pierre.
And can you spell that for us, please?
ANNJONESPIERRE.
Okay. Miss Pierre, where do you live?
I live at 518 Terrell Street.
Okay. And we have an out-of-town jury. Is that here in Chattanooga?
Yes, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
I've lived there since 1970.
Okay. A short time then. Would you say that you are familiar with Chattanooga?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with Talley Road?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you driven on Talley Road?
Ever since I've been driving. I drove it to take my kids to school. I drive the roads when I picked up my great-grandkids from school.
Okay. And so it's close to your home?
Yes.
Okay. And you say to school, do your grandkids go to Woodmore?
They go to Woodmore. They did go to Woodmore.
Okay. Can you, before we get to that, can you describe Talley Road for me?
Talley Road is a winding road, and it has some dips in it. And the speed limit now, they finally reduced the speed limit, and it's 20-25 miles an hour.
Okay. What about the turns on Talley Road?
The turns are hard to maneuver because of the way the road is. It's narrow and curvy.
Okay. Does Talley Road have a shoulder?
No.
Okay. You said Talley Road was next to Woodmore Elementary, and you are familiar with Woodmore Elementary, right?
Yes.
Okay, you said you had family that attended school there?
Yes.
Okay, who is that?
I have had two great-granddaughters that attended school there that I picked up every day.
Okay. Were they attending on November 21st of 2016?
Yes.
Okay, and did you pick them up that day?
Well, I picked up the youngest one. The older one was picked up by the Girls Inc. bus because they have a program.
Okay. Now, you're here because of the Woodmore crash involving Mr. Walker.
Yes.
How did you first become involved in that?
On the day of the crash, I had picked up my great-granddaughter, and I was at Talley Road and Midland Pike, headed to Brainerd Road. And the bus was to my right, and we got to the stop sign about the same time.
Would it be helpful for you to use a map?
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Well, it's a map, and it says Talley Road on it.
Okay. Is this about how Talley Road looks in your memory?
The area, yes.
Judge, the state's going to move to enter this exhibit into evidence as exhibit 1.
Without objection, let that be marked and entered as exhibit 1.
Can you see this okay? Can you all see this? I'm going to hand you this pointer here. Just hold this red dot down, and it'll give you some. Hold that red dot right there.
Okay.
Okay. Miss Pierre, where did you say you first met the bus?
At Midland Pike and Taylor Road.
Okay, and where is that?
Okay, could you bring that a little closer?
Sure. Say it's
Let's do it more. Okay, Taylor Road.
Sunset's right here. This is town.
Okay, then we would have been coming from, it's not working.
This is pointed here.
Okay, we would have been coming from Midland Pike.
Okay.
There, it's not working. No,
Let's hold it down. You just have to hold it.
I'm not today, honest.
Okay, how about this? I'll point and you kind of give me some directions here.
Okay, good.
All right. So where were you coming from?
I was coming from Woodmore School.
Okay, which would have been where?
You don't have the school, Woodmore School, we would have been turning left, coming toward Brainerd Road.
Okay, would you have been coming down towards Sunset, or are we going up this way?
No, coming down
So
to
you're
Sunset.
up here.
Right.
Okay, and where do you meet the bus?
I met the bus at Midland Pike and Tally Road. He was to my right, and we got there about the same time.
So you're at an intersection.
Correct.
Okay. You both stopped?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to see Mr. Walker's face?
Yes.
Okay. What did Mr. Walker look like? Is he here today?
Yes.
Okay, who is he?
The young man sitting.
Okay, let the record reflect that.
That's
Mr.
right,
Pierre.
so we're fine.
Were you able to see the expression on Mr. Walker's face?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what he looked like to you?
Well, he looked a little tense. He looked to me.
Objection, Your Honor. This calls for speculation about his statement.
If she can explain what she saw, I'll let her explain what she saw with the best she can.
Okay. I'm going to ask you the question again. You saw his face. What did he look like to you?
Well, he looked a little tense.
Okay.
And he was, looking toward me. And since he was to my right and we got there about the same time, then, I just motioned for him to go on, and he did go on. And then I turned behind him.
Okay. So you saw him take off.
Yes.
Okay. How did he leave the stop sign?
Well, he left the stop sign a little fast.
Okay. Appropriate for Tally Road?
No.
Okay. What happened next?
I turned behind him, and then by the time I turned, he was at Gale,
Okay.
and that's the first street there on the right. I think it's a dead end.
And is that still up here? Are we still coming down
Yeah,
this
we're
way?
still coming that way.
Okay.
And he was at Gale at that time. And then he went over the rise, and I didn't see him anymore until I got to Sunset.
Okay. So you lost sight of him up here?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, at Gale.
Okay. You saw him again at Sunset?
Yes.
What did you see when you got to Sunset?
When I came down, there's a rise. I came down the rise, and there was a cloud of dirt in the air all the way up, and it looked, when you first saw it, because of the color of it, it looked as if it was fire. But then I realized it wasn't, and I realized it was the bus, and I stopped. At first, when I first saw it, because I thought it was fire, and I didn't want to go any farther.
Where did you stop?
I stopped at Sunset.
Okay, so right around here.
Yes.
Okay. And you saw the dust where?
The bus was in the yard,
Okay.
and the dirt was coming up above the house and covering the bus.
And if I had to point somewhere for the jury, where would you say on this map that was?
If we're coming down Sunset, it would have been on the left side at the second house past Sunset.
Right here?
Right.
Okay. At this point, did you said you stopped the car.
Yes.
Did you ever approach the scene?
Not then, because I'm thinking about my safety and my little great-granddaughter to see what was going on. There was a lady that came behind me. I got out of my car, and there was a lady that came behind me, and she said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, it seems like the bus is wrecked." call 911
Okay.
and talk to them.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take this down here. After you saw this cloud of dust, did you see any other vehicles driving down that street erratically?
No.
Okay. You approached the scene.
Well, I waited and I talked with the 911 operator,
Okay.
and she asked me if anyone was hurt, and I told her I didn't know because the bus, there was no one outside of the bus at that time.
Okay.
And so I walked up the rise just a little bit, and there was nobody there. So I got back in my car, and I pulled my car up on the left side, the side that the house was on where the bus was, and I got out. And I was talking to the operator, and she said that they would dispatch someone to the area. And so by the time I did that, I walked just sort of across the street so I could see from behind. And by that time, the young man, the bus driver, Mr. Walker, got out of the bus and came around and opened the door. One side of the door because the other side wouldn't open, and then there were men who started coming.
Okay.
And
Let me back up just a bit with you. When you got onto the scene, were there any other vehicles that had stopped or pulled over that were involved in the crash with Mr. Walker?
no,
Okay. What did the bus look like to you?
it was tipped. If you're behind it, it was tipped to the left. It was crumpled on the right side, almost in the middle, but just a little past the middle.
Okay. Were there other indicators that it had been in a crash? Maybe you mentioned a mailbox or anything like that.
Well, the mailbox across the street and the house across the street was bent, but it was bent back toward the direction from which the bus came.
Okay. Was there an electric pole?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to look at that electric pole?
Yes, it was broken.
Okay. And the bus, you said, was on its side next to a tree?
Yeah, it was leaning.
Okay. Ms. Pierre, you said that you saw Johnthony Walker get out of the bus but no kids.
Right.
Okay. Can you tell the jury then what happened next?
Well, when he got out of the bus, he opened the door. There were two men coming, and he went into the bus and he brought a little boy out. And two of the men took the little boy and they laid him down on the ground.
Okay.
And then they started to come out, and then it was just complete silence. And then when the kids started coming out, it was horror.
Okay. Let me stop you. Judge, can I get overhead projector, please? Ms. Pierre, I'm going to show you some photos in just a moment that I'd like you to take a look at briefly. Okay, just take a look at these. Sorry.
Our readers.
You know what those are?
Yes.
Okay, what are they?
They're scenes from the wreck.
Okay. Do those look like what you saw the day of the crash?
Yes.
Judge, the state's going to move to enter these into evidence as exhibits 2 through 7.
2 through 7.
Yes.
It listed on the scene those without objection, and those exhibits 2 through 7 that can be marked in there. Ms. Carey, you need the easel there now.
I don't, Judge. My apologies. Okay. Miss Pierre, I'm going to show you the photos that you just looked at. This is exhibit 2 here. Can you turn around here and tell the jury what we're looking at?
That's the mailbox that's at the house across the street from where the bus is resting.
Okay. And then, this is Exhibit 3 here. What's that?
That's the pole that was over to the side of where the bus came through.
Okay. Ms. Pierre, I'm going to show you Exhibit 4 again, just another picture. I believe actually that's the same picture here. Let me show you Exhibit 5. What's that?
That's the side of the bus after the people came to work on it, and that tree appears to be inside the bus, but it really wasn't. It was where the bus was bent.
Okay. This pole right here, is this the same pole that we saw in the last picture?
Yes.
Okay. This is Exhibit 6. Same bus?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Pierre, this is the bus from the front, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Finally, Ms. Pierre, 7, just another angle of the bus on its side from the bottom. Is that what you remember?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Pierre, you said that, we're all set now. You said that once kids started getting off the bus, things got more intense.
Yes.
What did you see as kids were getting off the bus?
They got off the bus, and the men were helping them out. By that time, there were a number of people who had come, and there were other ladies there. The lady that lives in the house where the mailbox is,
Okay.
used to be a daycare there.
Okay.
She came out. The lady next door, the lady from across the street where the bus landed in the yard, she came and she was sitting on the steps of the house across the street from her. And we just started trying to console the children as they came out. They were crying and asking for their mother, and some of them had blood on them. Some of them were hurt, but some of them had somebody else's blood on them. And so we talked to them and tried to calm them down. And one of the ladies let some of the kids use their cell phone that knew their telephone numbers.
Did they all know their telephone numbers?
No.
Did all of them know how to get in touch with their families?
No.
Okay. How long were you at the scene with these kids?
I was there. I think it was, I had looked at my cell phone, and it was 3:21, 3:22. And I was there until about 10 after 5, when I asked the police officers if they could get me out because they had to pick up the other granddaughter.
Okay, so about 2 hours?
Yes.
And were there still kids being helped at the scene at that
Yes.
time?
And parents had come, and the school personnel.
Okay. Judge, may I have a moment, please? No further questions, Judge. So what you described today is that on November 21st, you had picked up your granddaughters from Woodmore. Is that right?
Great-granddaughters.
Great-granddaughters, excuse me. And you met the bus at the four-way stop of Midland and Tally. Is that right?
Correct.
And the bus was actually on your right, correct?
Yes.
And you know very well that when you come to a stop, the vehicle on the right goes forward.
Correct.
Okay. Now, was your testimony that the bus accelerated away from that stop a little
Yes.
too quickly for your taste? Is that correct?
Quicker than I would have.
Okay. Now, have you ever driven a bus before?
No.
Okay. You've seen these buses, though, right?
Correct.
They're loud, right?
Well, buses are loud, but that one wasn't.
Okay. That bus wasn't loud as it left the stop sign?
I mean, we're on the street, so in terms of loud, you have to be so closer to it for it to be loud.
Okay. And so, having never driven a bus, you don't know what it takes to accelerate away from a stop sign. Is that fair?
I don't know what it takes to accelerate, but I know whether something's moving faster or not.
Okay. But we can both agree that those buses are heavy, right?
Correct.
And the bus loaded with children is heavy, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so your testimony is that the bus proceeded and then you turned out behind it. You would have been the next vehicle behind it. Is that right? Now, Ms. Pierre, you drive below the speed limit, right?
I have driven Tally Road for years, and I respect Tally Road.
Sure.
You don't speed on Tally Road.
Yes, ma'am. So you drive a few miles under the speed limit, which at that time was 30, right?
On Tally Road, it's 30, it's 25, and it's 20.
Okay. And that day, you were driving below the speed limit as you were behind the bus 366, right?
I was driving my normal rate of speed. I did not check it.
Okay. And so your testimony was that as the bus crested the hill at Gale there, you lost sight of the bus. Is that right?
My testimony is that Gale is a down.
Okay.
Okay. And that was the last time that I saw the bus was at Gale.
Okay. Now, you were at the scene for, it sounds like, approximately 2 hours after this accident.
Almost, yes.
Okay. And while you were out there, you were handed, I guess, an accident report to fill out. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And so the accident report, they ask you for your name and address and your phone number, right?
Yes.
And then they ask you to write down in your words what you saw, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you do that? Did you write that out there at the scene, ma'am?
Yes.
And did you hand it to an officer there at the scene?
Yes.
Do you remember writing in the report that you proceeded behind the bus and could see the bus?
I could see the bus when it went to Gale.
Okay.
And I saw the bus when I came to Sunset.
And you then wrote...
And he told me I didn't have to put all of the street names on there. We were all a little nervous that day.
Okay. So the officer that took the statement from you told you that you did not have to put all the detail in the statement?
He said the names of the street because, it was an upsetting situation. And I'm trying to remember the names of the streets. So that's what he said.
I understand.
He said, what happened? And I told him what I saw.
Okay. So do you remember writing, I could see the bus went to the right side and veered to the left and slid left? Do you remember writing that?
I probably did when I came down, yeah.
Okay. But you did not make any statement at that time about the bus speeding away from the stop sign, did you?
Well, he didn't ask me that. Later on, when the vice principal came, he asked me if I saw the bus, and I said yes. And he said, was he speeding? And I said yes. But, that's what happened.
Okay. So it was later on when you met with folks from Woodmore Elementary, that was when you were asked about the speed for the first time. Is that correct?
He asked me, yes.
Okay.
There were a lot of people asking questions.
After you gave this statement, were you contacted by members of the traffic division of the Chattanooga Police Department to get further information about your statement?
No, I was contacted by the Transportation Board.
Okay. But from the Chattanooga Police Department, did anyone from Chattanooga Police Department contact you to get a statement after you wrote this statement?
No.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions.
No.
Thank you, ma'am. You're excused. You may stand there. Members of the jury spent about that hour and a half. Let's take about a 15-minute break. I'll let you go back to the officers to the jury room. We'll be in recess for about 15 minutes.
All rise.
Let me make this comment again that, all the lawyers involved in the case of the state and Mr. Walker are working very hard to do a good job. The system works better that way. And it works better if they're not distracted in any way. When some of us go to church, if our minister makes a good comment or says something that we like, we say amen sometimes, right? Well, that doesn't work in court. So that's, even though you think a good point was made or not made, so let's don't do that. It's distracting to the system. The system works better if we just listen and let everyone else do their work without distraction. Okay, so let's work with me in regard to that. Let's try not to make any comments or any unnecessary noises that are distracting. It's not good. Anything else before we have the jury back in? All right, so folks, we'll go to about 12:30. Let's have the jury back in. Those 16 seats, it wasn't set for 16 seats, wasn't it? Folks, we'll go to about 12:30. We'll take a lunch break. They call us next witness.
Michelle Brogdon.
Ma'am, if you'll come up and follow the directions of the officer in front of the courtroom, please, okay? Stand in front of that chair to take an oath or affirmation. Will be available.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about giving this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Bow into that mic as the lawyers ask questions, please.
Ma'am, if you would introduce yourself to the jury, please.
My name is Michelle Johnthony.
All right, and not a criticism of you, but the sound doesn't always carry well in this courtroom. So if you could speak as loud and clear as possible, I'd appreciate it.
And what was your last name? I'm sorry.
Brogdon.
Thank you.
And ma'am, where do you live here in Hamilton County?
I live on 416 Howard Circle.
All right, are you familiar with Tally Road?
Yes, sir.
And is that also here in Hamilton County?
Yes, sir.
All right, Your Honor, if I may approach.
You may.
Ma'am, Exhibit 1, a map of Tally Road here in Sunset. Okay. If you could, since one of if you would kind of show the jury where you live, where you reside. All right. So that's the aerial view of your house right there. Okay. And if I could take you back to the 21st of November of 2016, were you home that day?
Was.
Okay. Tell us what happened. Tell us where you were.
Actually, I was outside. I was up about right here.
Okay.
Messing around with the yard work. We were trying to get some landscaping done.
All right.
Um,
We, you, and who?
Just me. My dad
Okay.
was on the porch.
Okay.
I was out at the end of the drive.
All right. And tell us what you observed or what you recall.
I heard a bunch of kids
Okay.
coming from the opposite side of Tally Road, by Rogers Road.
Okay.
And it was a little odd because of the time of day. There's usually not a lot of kid traffic. So I went down, started walking down to the corner on Tally.
Okay. Why did you do that?
It was odd.
Odd in that you heard. And describe what you heard.
Kids like squealing.
Okay.
I guess.
Did it appear like squealing in pain, pleasure, or do you know?
Objection calls for speculation.
Well, I'll let her describe what she heard, and then I'll sustain as far as that.
Go ahead.
The best way that I can describe it is coming back hard on Tally Road, there's little dips. And when you're a kid, you go down those little dips and you squeal.
Okay.
That's what I heard, but it was really loud and really quick.
All right. And did you observe a school bus?
I did.
Okay. What did you observe about the rate of speed of the bus?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Judge, lay witness can talk about the speed.
Can observe what she saw about speed.
After I heard the kids, I started walking toward the corner. I was thinking maybe a group of high school or, something. And the next thing I knew, the bus just zipped by.
Zipped by you?
I've lived on Tally, on that corner, on and off for 10 years.
Okay.
I know the speed limit.
What is the speed limit?
30,
Okay, all right.
and you can honestly tell how fast people go on that road just for living there as long as I have.
Okay. And your observation of the bus's speed was what?
I'm not an expert, but I know he was going more than the speed limit, and for a reason, because usually if a bus goes by, I can see what it says on the bus. When it went by, I did not.
Okay. Could you tell color?
But yeah,
Okay.
the color and everything, it's just usually you can see the wording.
Right.
It was a little blurry.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was like blurry, it was just a little.
All right. Your Honor, if I may approach.
You may, sir.
Your Honor, these photos have been provided to discovery. I'll show the witness. And if you could just plot those three photos. Recognize that?
Yeah,
Okay. Tally Road?
yes,
Is that correct?
yes, and Sunset, the cross street.
Those are just no. Your Honor, I'd like to mark the next three photographs.
Exhibit 8, 9, and 10, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Right, with no objections, exhibits 8, 9, and 10 marked and introduced.
Ma'am, you looked at, and we'll start with exhibit, states exhibit 8. Looking here. Now, is that looking up Tally Road from your street or down?
Down.
All right. So that would kind of be in your viewpoint as you saw the bus go by?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And at the bottom of this, well, let me back up. Obviously, this is a downhill towards Sunset. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And then exhibit number 9 would be what intersection with Tally is this?
Sunset,
Okay. All right. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the speed limit, as you understand, is 30 on Tally Road.
correct.
Okay. Now, as you saw the bus go by, what else did you observe? And if you need to illustrate from the map or the photograph, if that'd be easier, just say so.
It was kind of like about right here,
Okay.
that little curve. It may not look very sharp, but it's kind of awkward.
All right.
Kind of swiveled a little bit.
What swiveled?
The bus, the back of the bus.
Okay. All right. In which direction?
It kind of, started like right here,
Okay.
the back of the bus. That's my viewpoint. And it's swerved kind of this way.
Okay.
Because when he flipped, it kind of just flipped. It wasn't a squeal. It was just,
All right. So you see the bus somewhere in this curve is kind of swiveled, as you said.
yes.
What else did you observe?
As he went around,
Yes.
there was another vehicle that was coming
Okay.
toward him.
All right. What color vehicle was that?
It was one of the white buses. It wasn't a car, it was one of the little white-sized buses.
All right. And which lane of travel was that bus in? Okay.
He was coming toward my house.
Okay. All right. And what did you observe after that?
It was a little blurry, I'm not gonna lie. I ran up there. The bus had kept traveling past me. I was on the phone still, I think, with 911. It could have been my daughter at that time, because she called when she heard me scream. The bus went up Howard Avenue, which goes, the little white bus went
Okay.
up Howard Avenue around the curve up there. It's a curve road, and he parked. And I didn't notice that at the time because I was more focused on what was going on with the bus.
Okay. Did you see anybody from this white vehicle? Did they ever come down to the scene?
My dad saw him. My dad's car is actually in one of those photos because he drove his truck down. My daughter saw him.
But did you?
No, I
Okay.
saw him, but he stood there the whole entire time.
All right.
Until I left about 5 o'clock.
Now, would it be fair to say from this photograph, you can't see where the bus finally rested? Is that correct?
You can't.
Okay, so obviously from this vantage point, you can't see much beyond what this photo shows.
Correct.
So did you see the bus actually crash? Or,
I did.
okay, so where were you at when you observed that?
It doesn't go far enough this way.
Okay.
This retaining wall goes all around the corner house on the corner of Tally and Howard.
All right.
I was literally at the corner of Tally and Howard.
Okay.
And I was walking that way, trying to see what he was doing, basically, and that's when it crashed.
Did you hear it, see it, or both?
Both. A bit of both. I didn't, I mean, even still now, it's like it happened,
Sure.
and it was there. And it was like, oh, wait a minute.
And then you said something about your daughter.
My daughter came down, my dad was there also.
Okay.
My dad sat with the defendant for a little bit.
Okay. And then did you stay at the scene for the rest of the afternoon, or how did that work?
I actually called my work and told them I was coming in, something had happened, and I think I left about 5:15. I talked to Dana Pond. She was there at the front right before I left.
With the police department?
Correct.
Okay.
And my dad left a little bit before I did. My daughter had rent to the house to get blankets just because of the children, but they wouldn't let her back down.
Okay. All right. Did you observe what did you observe about this white vehicle, the way it was traveling?
I call it mountain driving.
Okay. What do you mean by that term?
Kind of cutting off a corner. I mean, everybody does it around there.
Okay.
Granted, the road, if you've driven it, you'll know it's kind of just an awkward little jag. If you're not in your lane, you could really hit somebody if it happened.
Okay. All right. Were you able to determine was the van was it a company van? Did it belong to someone?
It did.
Were you able to see any of that?
I didn't process it till the next morning. I remembered one point about the van.
Right.
And the next morning, my daughter and I went out to errands, and we kept looking at every van to see if it would match what I saw.
Okay. All right. And I believe you gave a written statement to the police department. Is that correct?
Correct. And the NTSB.
And the NTSB, and you've spoken about this vehicle that you saw, this other vehicle. And I think you were also interviewed again by the police department and spoke again about what you're speaking about here today. Is that right? And Tally Road, obviously it's in the city limits of Chattanooga, which is also Hamilton County. Is that right?
Correct.
Lies within Hamilton County. Okay. One moment, Your Honor.
You may ask.
Good morning, Ms. Brogdon.
Good morning.
Okay, so you live on Howard Circle, which is this side street off Tally Road, okay? And you said on the afternoon of November 21st, you were out in your yard already doing yard work. Is that right? And what you heard was kids on the bus sounded, as you described, like they were squealing as they went
Right.
over the hills and things of that nature. And based upon that noise, you walked out to the corner of Tally and Howard, right? Would you agree with me that from your vantage point, you could see down Tally Road, at least
Most of it.
towards the intersection of Sunset?
Yes. I can see all the way up Sunset and almost up the curve.
Okay. And so what we're looking at here is the path that bus 366 would have been traveling. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And that turn up there, that's not a turn that just is kind of a gentle sweeping turn, is it?
It's a little awkward.
That's a great way of describing it. It's kind of like you come to that turn and then you kind of have to jag a little bit over. Is that right? Okay. So as you were looking down Tally Road, you were watching the bus and you saw the tail of the bus kind of veer suddenly. Is that right? And then when the tail end of that bus came around, bus 366, you were able to see the white transport bus. Is that right? When you saw the white bus for the very first time, his front tires were not in his lane, were they?
I don't recall, actually. I know that it wasn't where I normally would be on that road.
Okay.
In a car.
When what you've described the white bus as doing is mountain driving, is that right? What is mountain driving?
Cutting off a lane.
Okay. When you say cutting off a lane, you mean leaving your own lane and going into another lane, right?
Correct.
So you saw this white bus leave its lane of travel, and it was therefore in the lane of travel that bus 366 was heading down.
I did not see the bus or the little white bus until after the yellow bus had already swerved.
Okay.
At that time, he was still riding up the little white bus, kind of riding the line, but I wasn't paying attention to him. I was more concerned about the other bus.
Okay. Would you agree with me that the white bus and bus 366, where you saw them meet, is a narrow section of road?
Correct.
And when you spoke to police officers, ultimately, you described the white bus being over into that lane, that other lane, okay? Enough so that it appeared to you that bus 366 had veered over to the right to avoid a collision with the white bus.
No, I'm not sure. I cannot tell you that. I wasn't, like I said, I did not see the white bus until after the skid.
After the tail of the yellow
Correct.
bus moved.
Correct.
And there was that white bus mountain driving.
Correct.
If that white bus is over in the wrong side of the road, would you agree with me? There's not enough room in this narrow roadway for those two buses to have passed safely.
If they were both not on their side of the road, correct.
You then saw the bus roll almost immediately. Is that right? And once you saw the bus roll, you were on the phone with 911. Is that right?
I was on the phone with 911 in a minute and started to flip over.
Okay. And you were running down to the scene.
Correct.
You also began helping with children that had gotten off the bus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw Mr. Walker on top of that bus,
I did.
and he was trying to get children out, wasn't he?
He was sitting on the top of the bus and was looking down into the bus, yes.
Now, as you described to the jury earlier, the white bus, after bus 366 left the roadway, the white bus kept going, didn't it?
It went down to my street on the opposite side, which is Alec Avenue.
Okay. And the white bus parked, right?
Yeah, actually, I noticed it after we were helping some of the kids over to where the paramedics were.
And you saw the driver up there, right?
I did. I didn't see him immediately, but I did see him. There was a little girl who was hurt, and we took, me and another lady braced her arm, took her over, and he was actually, my dad was there. I didn't know when he showed up, but my dad was sitting next to him, and that was the second time that I actually got him.
Okay. You also saw the driver of the white bus from a distance, is that right? And that driver of the white bus was standing up there on the phone for a long period of time,
He was still there when I left at 5 o'clock,
watching the scene.
pacing on his cell phone.
After the accident, you filled out a witness statement, correct? And in that white statement, or excuse me, in the witness statement, you described the white bus, you called it a Siskin van, is that right?
That was the only thing I can attribute it to.
Right. You're not saying that that's
No.
the company.
No.
And at the time, you didn't know which company that white bus belonged to,
Let me
right?
fill that out now.
That form that you filled out included your name and address, right? And your phone number, right? You also called 911, so 911 dispatch also had your information. Is it fair to say, Ms. Brogdon, that you've made yourself available to the Chattanooga Police Department that very day to explain what you saw?
Correct.
Would you agree with me, Ms. Brogdon, that the first time anyone from the Chattanooga Police Department reached out to you was nearly a year after this accident?
Correct.
And you actually sat down with your personal counsel and with Investigator Cavett from Chattanooga Police Department on November 21 of 2017.
Correct.
You gave a full statement to Officer Cabot at that time, didn't you?
Correct.
Do you recall him stating to you that he doubted that there was a white bus out there because he didn't see any evidence of that?
Yes.
He was skeptical of what you were saying, wasn't he? You gave him a description of the white bus, didn't you?
Yes.
You gave him a description of the driver of the white bus, didn't you?
To the best of my knowledge at the time, yes.
And it wasn't a perfect description, but it was just what you could see of that person standing up there on the phone.
Correct.
Do you also remember that Officer Cabot suggested maybe you could go down to the scene with the officers and kind of walk them through what you saw that day? Did that ever take place?
No.
You were agreeable to doing that, weren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
But besides that one conversation with Chattanooga Police Department a year after the accident, they never followed up with you about any of the information you have, did they?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Brogdon. I have no further questions.
Briefly, ma'am, they took your statement the day the incident occurred.
Correct.
In writing, you detailed everything that you saw, or to an extent.
To an extent, because it wasn't a lot of stuff to process.
Okay. All right. And had you processed some more when they spoke to you the second time? Or was it essentially what you told them the first time?
Essentially, I had more detail. After I filled out my statement, within 2 days, I had a phone call with Ms. Harley from the NTSB.
Okay.
I talked to her 3 times.
Okay.
And she actually called me in June again to see if I remembered anything else.
All right. But essentially, your story remains the same.
Yes, sir.
All right. And when you saw the Mr. Walker out with your father, did you hear Mr. Walker say anything?
He was in shock.
Okay.
I mean, it's obvious. My dad had told I did not realize he was there. And when I looked up, he was.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I think Ms. Dunn,
No, thank you, Your Honor.
thank you for your excuse. Okay. Take the calls next, please.
Keisha Nixon?
And if you'll come up and follow Grace's also, okay? Okay, stand in front of that chair to take an oath or affirmation from the court bailiff.
Do you swear affirm testimony about giving this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
May you see it, ma'am?
Allow me with that. Okay, so thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Nixon.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Can you state your full name for the jury?
Keisha Nixon.
Okay, can you spell it for the record, please?
Takisha.
Okay. Ms. Nixon, where do you live?
Dalton, Georgia.
Okay. How long have you lived there?
Since 2015.
Okay. Is Dalton, Georgia close to Chattanooga, Tennessee?
About 35 minutes.
Okay. And you know Johnthony Walker?
Yes.
How long have you known him? Well, how do you know him, actually?
From work.
Okay. He's a coworker?
I used to work at Amazon, yes.
Okay. And how long have you known him?
It hasn't been that long. But
How long?
at that point,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like 6 months.
Okay. And 2 friends?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you speak on the phone regularly?
Not really that much, no.
Okay. But sometimes?
Sometimes.
Okay. Ms. Nixon, you're here because of the crash involving Mr. Walker. Okay, I'm going to take you back to November 21st of 2016. You remember that day?
Yes.
Okay. Were you on the phone with Johnthony Walker on November 21st?
I called him.
You called him. What's your phone number?
706-271-5790.
706-271-5790. Do you know his phone number?
No.
Not offhand?
No.
Okay, but you had it in your phone?
That, yes.
You called him?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you call him?
Just to talk.
Okay.
I used to work night shift, so I got off to sleep. Pretty much.
Okay. Where were you at the time of the call? You said you'd just gotten off. Were you home?
I was home.
Okay. Did Mr. Walker tell you where he was?
No.
Okay. Did you ask?
No.
Did he tell you he was working?
I said, are you working?
Okay.
Yes. He said yes.
Okay. Do you know where he worked?
At that point?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Did he tell you he was driving?
I asked him, are you driving?
And what did he
He
say?
said yes.
Okay. Judge, at this time, the state is going to move the next document into evidence as the next number as exhibit by stipulation.
All right, if there's no objection, that'd be Exhibit 11. Mark and enter, please.
Ms. Dixon, can you just move a little closer to the mic so that we can get you on the record?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what I've just put into evidence as Exhibit 11. Okay, if you could turn around behind you and take a look at this. Hold on 1 second. All right. Let's let that get focused. Ms. Nixon, you said your number was 1706-271-5790.
Yes.
Okay. Is that you right there? Is that your number?
Yes.
Okay, and Keish, is that you?
Yes.
Is that what he called you?
Yeah.
Is that a nickname of yours?
Yes.
Okay. And this was on November 21st of 2016, right?
Right.
Okay. What does that time say?
3:17 p.m.
3:17, 22nd.
Right.
Do you know what this number is?
The length of the call.
Okay, 3 minutes and 50 seconds?
Right.
Okay, and that would have put you talking to Mr. Walker from 3:17:20 to 3:21.
That is what they said, yes.
Okay. Mrs. Nixon, did you hear that Mr. Walker was involved in a crash?
Not until I went back to work the weekend.
Okay. Did you text him that night?
What, after the crash?
Yes.
Either that night or the next day, I can't remember.
Why did you text him?
Because he never responded. The conversation was short, and I didn't hear from him again, so.
You said it was short.
Yeah, the 3 minutes and 50 seconds, the same thing I told him. I wasn't on the phone that long.
Okay.
Maybe my line didn't hang up or his line didn't hang up, but I didn't say anything after. Are you driving? He said yes. Then there was nothing. I said, be careful, and I hung up.
Did you hear anything after that?
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. When you texted him, were you expecting a text back?
Yes.
Did he text you back?
Nope.
Judge, may I have a moment? No further questions, Judge.
And cross-examination.
Good morning, Ms. Nixon. Good morning. Okay. So you first met Johnthony Walker when you worked together at Amazon, is that right?
Correct.
Did you both work that weekend shift, that long weekend shift?
Yeah.
Okay. So prior to November 21st of 2016, you hadn't known him for that long. Is that fair? You would talk to him on the phone a few times, right? And on the afternoon of November 21st, you called him. Is that right? Did he answer the phone?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the substance of your conversation with Mr. Walker?
Not much. It was quick.
Okay.
I said, are you working? He said yes. So are you driving? He said yes. There was a pause. Didn't hear anything. I said, be careful. I'm not.
So essentially, once Mr. Walker told you that he was driving, that was a signal to you.
Yes. Bye. I don't talk to people while they're driving, and I don't talk on the phone while I'm driving. So, yeah.
And you have pretty strong feelings about that, is that right?
Yes.
Explain why, Ms. Nixon.
When I was a kid, I saw a friend of mine get hit by an 18-wheeler. I don't like to drive myself. I just got my driver's license a couple of years ago. I feel very, very, very strong about that.
So you don't talk on the phone when you're driving, right?
No.
And you don't talk on the phone to people who are driving?
No.
You didn't even realize that Mr. Walker was driving a bus, did you?
No.
Okay. And so, essentially, the entire conversation between you would have lasted a matter of seconds. Is that right?
Exactly.
And so you now understand the Chattanooga Police Department has obtained the cell phone records of Mr. Walker. And as you saw, the records say 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Absolutely.
You don't believe you were on the phone with him for that period of time, did you?
That's why I said maybe his line didn't hang up, because I don't want the phone. I don't. It scares me.
You didn't hear any children in the background when you were talking to him? You didn't hear a crash take place, did you?
I did not hear anything.
Nothing.
If I heard something, I would have said I heard something. Like, I didn't hear anything. He didn't even say anything else. So I said, be careful, and hung up.
And nothing would have indicated to you that you were on the phone with him when a massive accident took place, right? I want to show you these 2 text messages from Mr. Walker's cell phone, okay? And Your Honor, we'll mark these as the next numbered exhibit. I believe we're on exhibit number 12.
That would be, is it one exhibit? Exhibit 12.
Okay, ma'am. So this is going to show up on the screen behind you again. Let me see. I'm going to show you this one at the bottom first. Okay. See there? This is to Mr. Walker. Zombie was his nickname. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's from you, right, Keish? And what's the date here, ma'am?
11/21/2016.
And that's at 3:21 and 59 seconds p.m., right?
Right.
What is the text message that you sent him?
Text me if you want to talk. Whenever you're done, I'm getting back in the bed.
Okay. Now, obviously, if you'd been on the phone with him just moments before when an accident had occurred, you probably would have sent him a different text message, right?
Right.
You didn't know anything about an accident at 3:21 p.m., did you?
No.
Okay. I'm going to show you a second text message on the same page. And again, that's to Mr. Walker from you, right?
Right.
What's the date shown on this? I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold it. What's the date here, ma'am?
11/21/2016.
And what time?
5:40 p.m.
Okay. And what's your message?
Are you still busy, babe?
All right. Obviously, you still had no idea that an accident had taken place.
No.
You certainly weren't on the phone with him when this accident involving bus 366 took place, were you?
I was not.
Thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
Can you redirect? Yeah, what we asked you, I'm sorry.
Nixon?
Dixon, thank you. No other questions, Ms. Dixon? And your excuse, you may step down. Thank you, call's next witness.
Adam Cabot.
So if you'll follow directions, Officer Pedrick in the front of the courtroom. If you stand in front of the chair to take the oath for affirmation from the court of battle, sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Yes, sir. You may be seated, sir.
Morning, Officer Cabot.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Mr. Cabot, Officer Cabot, can you state your full name for the jury, please?
Adam Cabot,
And go ahead and spell it for the record.
C-A-V-I-T-T,
Officer Cabot, where do you work?
Chattanooga Police Department,
Okay. How long have you been there?
17 years.
Okay. Was that your entire law enforcement career?
Yes.
Okay. What's your current assignment?
I'm currently assigned to the Special Operations Traffic Division
Okay. And how long have you been there?
since 2014.
What are your responsibilities in the traffic division?
Responsibilities in the Traffic Division are speed reduction,
Okay.
taking care of traffic complaints such as speeding, traffic crashes, severe injury crashes, fatality investigations, DUI investigation.
Okay. So you said you've been in this unit since 2014. So you would have been in the traffic unit on November 21st of 2016 during the crash.
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Cabot, how did you first become involved in the crash?
I was called to the scene by my supervisor after the crash.
Okay. Who was that?
Justin Kilgore.
Okay. Do you remember the time of that call?
I do not.
Okay. Did you go to the scene?
I did.
Okay. What did you see when you first got there?
Tally Road was, in essence, a parking lot
Okay.
on the outside, away from the crash scene.
So you were not the first one there?
No.
Okay.
It was not. I showed up after the crash had already occurred.
About what time?
Anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour after the crash had occurred.
Okay. What time did the crash occur, to your recollection?
I believe around 15, 24 hours.
That would be what in
Oh, I'm sorry.
lay time?
3:24.
3:24. So you said the Tally Road was a parking lot. Did you see the bus?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did the bus look like?
The bus was on its side, the right side, and slid up against the tree.
Okay.
Heavy damage on top of the main, or on top of the bus.
Okay. How many vehicles were involved in the crash?
Just one
Okay. And that would be the bus?
bus, yes.
Okay. Were there any other vehicles waiting on the scene claiming to be involved with the crash?
No.
Okay. Did you interview a Michelle Brogdon? And I'm kind of going just a little off track here.
I did, but it was several months after the crash.
Okay. Did she talk to you about a white van?
She did.
Okay. Did you investigate this claim of a white van?
Yes. It was previously said that this possibly was an Alexian Brothers van, which is one of the companies that transports seniors around in the neighborhoods to their homes and to activity centers. I then contacted Alexian Brothers and showed up with them and their legal team and interviewed 3 drivers that were on duty that day, and found out that none of them were anywhere near Tally Road at the time of the crash.
Okay. Did you see a white van anywhere in the area?
I did not.
Okay. So let me take you back again to that day. Were you the only one in the traffic unit that had made it to the scene of the crash?
No.
Okay. Does the entire traffic unit investigate a crash when something of this magnitude happens?
Yes, on a crash of this magnitude, it's pretty much all hands on deck.
Okay.
Everybody comes and gets called to the scene.
Okay. And what role did you play in this group investigation?
Our duty on a fatality scene is to observe and collect evidence through photography, video, scan with our lineup system, and be able to determine what happened on the crash scene.
Okay. In a more general sense, were you the, was there a lead investigator?
Yes, after I got on scene and kind of helping around, getting with my coworkers and seeing what they need, what they've already done, and who is doing certain jobs. We've had 2 officers doing photography.
Okay.
We had officers going to get our scanning equipment, lighting equipment that we would need. I was informed that by our sergeants that I was going to be taking lead.
Okay, so you were the lead.
Yes.
Okay. And what does it mean to be the lead on an investigation?
Our sergeants designate certain officers in our team to be the lead, so I can be able to move forward with the investigation, see where it's going, and be able to tell other officers in our unit, give them different jobs to do, so we're not all doing the same thing, so we can kind of spread out the work evenly.
Okay. So in this delegation of tasks, would you then say that you had a comprehensive knowledge of what is going on the scene?
Yes.
Okay. Would that knowledge include information about the children that were on the bus?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, may I approach?
You may.
Officer Cabot, I'm going to show you 2 documents here. Just take a look at them really quickly. Do you recognize what those are?
Yes, these are a list of the students.
Okay. And the second one, do you know what that is? Yes.
It's a list of the students and a list of injuries sustained in the crash.
Okay. Do you have records of the injuries of your own?
Yes,
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to review those lists there?
I have.
Okay. Are those accurate as far as the names, ages, and injuries that the kids sustained on the class?
Yes, for the most part. There are a few, as far as injuries, that I had to confirm with several people that are involved in the case. But
Okay. And if you would just take a look at that and see if those have been changed on that and let me know.
yes,
And so that's an accurate list then of what you have.
yes, sir.
Okay. But the state's going to move these next 2 exhibits into
Two
evidence.
exhibits.
Yes.
All right, without objection, then there would be exhibits 13 and 14.
Okay, Officer Cabot, I'm going to have you take a look at the screen behind you. I'm showing you Exhibit 13 here. You can turn the chair around if you'd like. I don't know if that would work better for you. Okay. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at here?
Those are the names and day of birth of all students aboard the bus.
Okay, how many kids does this list have?
37.
Are they all Woodmore students?
Yes.
All of these names are kids on the bus?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell the jury the age of the youngest student on that bus?
With 5 years old.
5. And the oldest?
11.
Okay. Are you familiar with the injuries? Well, you said that you were familiar with the injuries. Was every student injured?
No.
Okay. Do you know how many were uninjured?
Let's see. Somewhere between 6 and 9.
Okay.
We're not physically injured.
Do you know how many kids died in the crash? Okay. I'm going to show you Exhibit 14 here. Now, what are we looking at here?
It's a chart of the students again.
Okay. And this chart is different from the other one. Why? This one has...
It lists the injuries sustained in the crash.
Okay. And you said that you have reviewed this.
Yes.
Okay. And it is accurate to what you know the injuries to be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The jury's going to take this back with them, and so I just want to go over briefly with you how we are to read this. First column is the count.
Yes.
The second column.
Second column would be the charges.
Okay. So the vehicular homicides here.
Yes.
Reckless aggravated assaults here. Yes?
Correct.
Okay. And the remaining charges on the second page here of assault, reckless endangerment, reckless driving.
Yes.
Okay. There is, again, a list of names. Do these correspond with the charges next to them?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And then finally, this last row here is a list of the injuries.
Yes.
Okay. And these injuries, if I may, reckless aggravated assault, Niriana, these would be her injuries. Lost right arm from the shoulder down, arm almost fully severed, etc. Right?
She didn't completely lose the arm, so.
Right. So almost fully severed would be accurate.
Correct.
Okay. And then the next one, carrion, skull fracture, brain damage, facial bone fractures, broken spleen.
Yes,
Okay. And it would be the same going all the way down.
that's correct.
Okay. All of these injuries were sustained during the bus crash?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Now, I want to, I guess, orient your attention then to the bus itself. Are there video cameras on the bus?
Yes, they were installed by Durham.
Okay. How many cameras does the bus have?
It is 3.
Okay. And where are those cameras located?
There's a front camera, direction pointed toward the rear of the bus.
Okay. And that camera would show what?
It should show the very top front of the bus, going down towards the back door.
All the way to the back?
Yes.
Okay. The next camera?
The next camera is located above the driver's head,
Okay.
and it's pointed out toward the right side of the bus where the double swing doors are.
Okay, so if I'm the driver facing forward, my camera is over here.
It's above the
Here,
head,
facing
pointing
that way.
toward, the students that board and
Okay.
get off
And the last camera?
the bus. The last one is in the very rear of the bus, facing forward toward the front.
Okay. And to your knowledge, were those cameras working at the time of the crash?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Crash is on video?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, may I get a prosecution laptop over here?
Some family folks would like to leave at this time. Certainly, you have permission to leave if you so desire. And I would request that if you stay, please, let's be as quiet as we can, or let's be quiet. So that if you like to leave at this point in time, you certainly have permission to leave. Anyone else?
Judge, I'm going to wait just a moment.
Okay.
Give everyone an opportunity to step out.
Thank you, folks. If no one else.
All right, Officer Cabot, I'm going to play the first portion of this video for you. What camera is this?
This is the camera above the driver's head, facing out the double entrance swing door.
Okay, and you had an opportunity to review this video,
Yes,
and does this look like the same video that you reviewed?
that's correct.
Okay, and it's from the bus.
Yes.
Okay. Before I start the video, I want to point out Mr. Walker here at the bottom. Can you see his hand?
Yes.
Okay, what does he have in his hand?
Here's me a cell phone.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and play the video now. What does this video show, Officer Cabot?
I believe the children are entering the bus at the school.
Okay. that just flashed on the screen again? Did you see it? What is that?
That was a cell phone.
Okay.
And Mr. Walker's hand.
Okay. Is it fair to say that this video continues on just about like this until the end?
Yes.
Okay. If I may just drag it over here again towards the end of the video. What's that? And Johnthony Walker's hand again.
It's the same cell phone.
Okay. All right, I'm going to show you the second video here. Officer Cabot, what camera are we looking at right now?
That'd be the same camera
Okay.
above the driver.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, that's Johnthony Walker.
Yes, this is after the crash occurred.
Okay. Is that Mr. Walker helping the kids out?
Yes, it is.
What are we looking at through the side windows right here?
That is ground.
The bus is flipped on its side here at this point.
That's correct.
And where were the kids exiting from? Were they exiting from the door?
They're coming through the front windshield. Half of the students were exiting out of the rear door, and half were coming out the front windshield because there was a blockage with a tree did damage.
Was there an opening on the roof of the bus, like an escape hatch?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Do you know if kids were escaping from there?
I'm not certain.
Okay. Okay, and I'm going to show you one final video here. What camera is this?
Appears to be the rear camera at the rear emergency door facing forward toward the front of the bus.
Okay. And is this before or this is after the crash, after the bus has come to a stop?
Yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say the right side of this bus is on the floor or is on the ground?
The rear section was elevated slightly. That's why you see some of the children being able to drop out of the side window.
Okay.
But there was a small gap where they could get out.
Okay. What's going on right here?
One of the children pinned by her arm and could not move.
Is this the one whose arm was almost fully severed? Or is this a different child?
Yes.
It is a different child?
That's the child that was pinned by her arm.
Okay.
There are 2 children in that seat. I believe one was deceased and one was pinned.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't think we need to see.
I'm sorry.
I object to the continued viewing of the video
Is
at
this
this point, Your Honor.
the same continuous of the video?
Judge, it'll end in about 10 seconds. I mean, I can stop it.
There's not any questions relating to that.
This, do you know who the child is that ends up dying, that's in this scene here?
I am not certain.
Okay. Okay.
Your Honor, I would ask that there are no further questions about this video, that the video be lowered.
It's probably appropriate, unless the state wants to approach the bench.
No, I can read it. Judge, at this time, the state would move to introduce these videos as the next 3 exhibits.
That would be 15, 16, and 17, is that correct?
I believe so, Judge. The state has no further questions.
Exhibits 15, 16, and 17 is done on behalf of Mr.
Well, it's almost noon, so I'll say good afternoon, Officer Cavett. You were designated the lead investigator in this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the course of the investigation, including who was doing scene interviews, who was doing witness interviews, scene documentation, all of that was coordinated through you. Is that right?
At a certain point, yes.
Okay. And you were present that afternoon at the scene, correct?
Yes.
There were numerous police, fire, and EMS vehicles on the scene, weren't there?
That is correct.
And those vehicles, you said it looked like a parking lot, right?
Yes.
Covering the roadway.
The portion around the crash was open. There was a lot of foot traffic.
At every scene where there's an investigation that's taking place, part of your protocol is to have crime scene logs. Is that right?
Yes.
And the purpose of the crime scene log is to be able to document what time officers or other emergency personnel arrive at the scene, right?
Yes.
And then what time they depart from the scene, correct? There's a log for the police officers, right?
Yes.
And then a separate log that's kept for like fire, medical, EMS, correct?
I believe some of them signed the same one, but I think the back portion of our crime scene logs is signed for medical and fire.
All right.
So collective exhibit 16 then would be the crime scene logs.
Collective exhibit number 16 consists of 8 pages.
8 pages.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Cabot, I'm going to show you the 7th page of this 8-page exhibit.
Judge,
Your Honor, if I...
podium. Okay, I'll take this off.
Thanks.
You need the document camera, correct?
Please, Your Honor.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So this is what a crime scene log looks like, right? And we have here all of the information relevant to the investigation there at the top, right, Officer Cabot?
That's correct.
All right. And there, number 3, it says A. Cabot. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your badge number next to it?
Yes.
What's your badge number? Is that 167?
167.
Okay. And then it has the date and the time in, right?
Yes.
And what is the time in marked for your name?
It says 1809.
Okay. And so, according to this document, you actually arrived at the scene a couple of hours after the accident occurred. Does that sound correct?
I don't believe it was that late, but
But that's what your official crime scene log says, right? Looking at the crime scene logs, and you're welcome to look at them if you'd like, it looks like there were probably over 25 different EMS vehicles that came and went from the scene that evening. Does that sound right?
constantly count, I don't know, the other several.
Okay. There were also approximately 10 fire engines parked at the scene assisting with the victims. Is that correct?
I don't know the exact number.
Okay.
Yes, there were several.
And that would be contained in Exhibit 16 in the crime scene logs, right?
Should be.
Okay. Clearly, there were a number of officers there in their patrol cars as well, right?
Yes.
Now, we know this event occurred in November, right?
Yes.
So when you arrived at 1809, which is 6 o'clock, it would have already been getting dark. Is that right?
It was close to it.
Okay. And as a result, the data measurement, collection, all of those things that were going on were taking place in the dark, correct?
We have lighting sources and flashlights and things.
Okay, so you were using flashlights and different lighting sources to measure marks in the roadway at that point. Is that right?
Partially, yes.
Okay. Now, at this time, emergency vehicles have been up and down that roadway, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that fire trucks and emergency vehicles can be evidence destroyers at a scene when you're investigating a roadway collision?
It is possible.
There were also a number of witnesses at the scene that afternoon, correct?
Yes.
A lot of people had stopped to come in and help with the children, correct?
Yes.
There were also witnesses there who observed Bus 366 before the accident, correct?
Yes.
And someone with Chattanooga Police Department handed out witness statement forms for those individuals to give their personal information, right?
Correct.
And those witness statements were also collected and maintained as part of your master case file?
Yes.
Okay. And the purpose of getting those statements is first to document who was out there, their name, their address, their phone number, right?
Yes.
The second purpose of those witness statements is to find out what those witnesses saw, right?
Correct.
In this case, you obtained a witness statement from Michelle Brogdon, correct?
I did not personally know, but yes, I have one in my case file.
And you're, as you mentioned, the lead investigator, right?
Yes.
Does that put you in charge of maintaining the master case file?
Yes.
And you testified on direct examination that you were the one responsible for telling other members of the traffic division what to do so you all weren't doing the same thing, right? Like the other statements, Ms. Brogdon's statement contains her name, address, and phone number, right?
Yes.
It also contained information regarding a white bus, didn't it?
I believe it mentions.
The crux of that statement was that the white bus contributed in some way to the accident involving bus 366, correct?
Not in her original statement.
Okay.
It said it was present on the scene.
You didn't follow up with Ms. Brogdon about her statement during her initial investigation, did you?
No.
Okay. No one from Traffic Division of the Chattanooga Police Department contacted Michelle Brogdon to follow up about her statement, correct?
Correct.
In fact, the first time that anyone from Chattanooga Police Department made contact with Michelle Brogdon was exactly 1 year after the accident on November 21 of 2017, right?
I believe so.
As a result, there was no investigation done at the scene to determine whether, in fact, a white transport bus had been out there that day, correct?
There was no physical evidence to support further investigation,
Okay.
other than just the pure mention of it in a witness statement.
Eyewitness statements are important to police officers, aren't they?
Correct.
That's why witness statements are given out at the scene, because the witness statements have value in your investigation, right?
Correct.
Okay. On November 21 of 2017, you spoke with Ms. Brogdon personally, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And when you spoke with her, she gave you both a description of the white bus and kind of a description of the driver of the white bus, correct?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned earlier in your direct testimony that you had gone over to Alexian Brothers.
Yes.
Right? I was there that day as well, wasn't I?
Sure.
Okay. And that was in August of 2017, right?
Right.
And there were 3 drivers that were interviewed at that time, correct?
I believe so.
None of those individuals matched the description that was given by Michelle Brogdon, right? Okay. What steps then were taken by you as the lead investigator in this case to determine the company that owned that white bus after you talked to Michelle Brogdon on November 21 of 2017?
I contacted Siskin, and there's another side company of Siskin to see if they own buses similar to what she described, and other companies around town. Just came up with there was no one in that area where they didn't have similar buses
Okay.
that have routes in that area.
And so that investigation actually started then calling around town a year after this accident happened. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And you never requested that some other investigator in traffic division make a specific inquiry as to the white bus or the driver of the white bus, correct?
No way.
And you would agree with me that CPD's had that witness's statement since day one of this accident, right?
Correct. They felt no contributing factors to the crash were from the white bus mentioned in the first witness statement.
Okay, so it doesn't say that the white bus contributed, but certainly it would be important to the Chattanooga Police Department if they knew there was another bus on that roadway that may have even seen the accident, wouldn't it?
Well, no one came forward and still hasn't. If they did.
So because no one came forward, there was nothing that could be done to locate the driver of the white bus?
We had, but it was done later today.
Okay. We were looking at the video of the bus earlier. Just for a point of clarification, there's a timestamp on that bus video, isn't there?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that the timestamp on the bus video is incorrect?
I believe it is.
I think it shows that the accident happened like in the 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock hour. Does that sound right? And we can all agree that that's not accurate for the benefit of the jury,
Yes.
right? Okay. Now, you saw the portion of the video there where Mr. Walker was holding a cell phone, correct?
Yes.
Now, the video camera that we were looking at was a video camera that was actually posted above the driver's head, right? And that video camera was designed to look over the driver's head out the door where the children were getting onto the bus, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so there are points in the video that you pointed out you could see the cell phone, right?
Yes.
On those occasions where you could see the cell phone, it was actually Mr. Walker holding the cell phone up like this, right?
Yes.
And in fact, in one of those occasions, the screen was black, wasn't it?
I couldn't tell. The video.
Chattanooga Police Department had a full download of Mr. Walker's cellular phone information within a week of this accident, correct?
Yes.
That includes the call records as well as the text messages and contact information that were on Mr. Walker's phone, right?
Yes.
So it would have been information available to the Chattanooga Police Department in the first weeks of investigation that there was purportedly someone on the phone with Mr. Walker, right?
Right.
That's Takesha Nixon.
Yes.
First time anyone spoke to Takesha Nixon, anyone from Chattanooga Police Department spoke to Takesha Nixon was this month, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Redirectional, Officer Cabot.
Yes, Judge. May I have a moment, please?
You may.
Officer Cabot, I just have about 2 questions for you. You spoke with Amanda, or Miss Dunn, excuse me, on cross about showing you Exhibit 16 here, this official record, right? And decided that this is the official record of the crash.
Yes.
Okay. Earlier I asked you when the crash happened, and you stated 3:24.
Yes.
Okay. What time does it say the crash happened here?
It's 3:20.
Okay. And this is the official record as agreed to by you and Ms. Dunn?
Yes.
Okay. And then I just want to put that side by side. We've got 3:20 here with the phone records that you've just discussed with Ms. Dunn of Ms. Takesha Nixon.
Yes.
Okay. If you could, again, this is Exhibit 11. Turn around here. This phone call here is the one that we've established is from Ms. Nixon. Can you tell me what time? That says 3:17, correct?
That's correct.
3 minutes and 50 seconds would put that about, we established around 3:21 and 10 seconds, correct?
Yes.
Okay. With this as the official record showing the bus crash at 3:20, and these as the official record showing the phone call going until 3:21, would you say that Mr. Walker's phone was running, taking a call during the time of the crash?
Yes.
Judge, no further questions.
And no further questions?
Yes.
All right. And Ms. Dunn, if you have recourse.
Officer Cabot, you spoke with Takesha Nixon just a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She told you she wasn't on the phone with Mr. Walker at the time this accident occurred, didn't she?
That's what she stated.
In fact, she...
Prior.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean
Just
to...
prior to the crash.
She told you it was a very brief conversation, didn't she?
That's what she said.
She explained to you that she never talks to people when they're driving because of her own personal experiences, correct?
Yes.
And that included Mr. Walker on November 21st, right? No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything else, Counsel?
No, Judge.
Officer Kevin, your excuse for me. Members of the jury, we're going to take the lunch break now. You will go with the officers. Lunch will be provided at this point in time. Every time you leave the courtroom, I'm going to say the same thing. So I'm going to say, don't do any independent investigation on your own. Don't talk to anyone about the case. Don't let anybody talk to you about the case. Don't watch or try to do any investigation on your own. Once again, decide the case based on what you hear in this courtroom. I'll let you go with the officers. We'll be back about an hour and 15 minutes or so from now. Okay?
All rise.
Has been excused anything from the state or the
Please, let's just
defense?
one minute. Still in session, please.
Listen, once again, the lawyers are being asked questions about exhibits and videos and things. It's not a problem. Don't ask the lawyers anymore about providing anything to you. If they're working hard, they don't need to be talking to the media or anyone else about anything at this point in time. Now, the media is here. You're here like all of us are. So you're watching the same thing everyone else is. But the lawyers are busy. They don't need to be distracted by anything else. Now, is there anything else at this point in time? I said an hour and 15 minutes to myself. Is that about right or a little bit longer? I'll ask all the parties to be back at 1:30, a little bit before. And as soon as the jury's back, it may take a little bit longer. We'll start the afternoon session. So we'll be at recess until 1:30.